Hello, everyone. Thank you so much again for joining us today on the Getting Together podcast. We are down at the porch in Prescott on Montezuma Street. It's a busy day here. There are people everywhere. It's a really cool thing to be a part of this community here at the porch. Coffee, community, and conversation. So we are going to be hitting, I think, all three of those today. We're going to be talking about community. We're having coffee. She's having coffee.
I'm having coffee.
And we're just going to have a cool conversation with Grant. And I had this New Year's resolution last week about like pronouncing names correctly. Right. And we booked like the most difficult name ever. So we'll have to have Grant kind of give us a little tutorial.
I think it's Quezada.
Quezada.
I think so.
So we need to start booking like Smiths and Jones.
Right.
Perfect. Perfect. So that is going to be an excellent time just learning more about him. He's a soldier and a local businessman with founding fathers. But that's not why we're here right now. No.
It's about us
it's
right
about
now.
us right now.
Yes.
He'll have his time. This is our time. Remember
Watch,
Goonies?
don't watch, but you know.
Remember Goonies?
It's us. Goonies.
Yeah, Goonies.
No, never saw it.
Are you kidding me?
Never saw it.
Isn't
it like 12-year-old kids running around on bikes or something?
For the rest of you, this reference, you got this one kid and they find this like wishing well and he thinks he found the treasure and he picks up this thing and they're talking about, hey man, these are someone's wishes, and he goes, this is my wish, never came true. And anyway,
does he say it with that kind of passion?
Oh, he's extremely passionate. Okay. Like he's got the water from this well like washing down his face. He's freaking out. This is my wish.
How did that correlate with what we were saying?
I have no idea. I forget. This is my time. Oh yeah,
getting together.
But down here. This is our time. This is our place.
There, see,
but that was Sean.
To say that.
So I combined a few different references.
I see that. You're all over the place.
It's okay, because it's still a good movie that I can't show my kids because it's another one of those movies where like the language is like, I don't remember that
because they don't hear it at public school.
No, gosh, no.
No, never.
No. Our public schools are just a trove of purity.
They are here in Prescott.
A treasure trove of purity.
That's right.
Absolutely.
And that's why we love it here.
And by the way, I meant to tell you.
BTW.
I ended up over the holidays watching for the first time It's a Wonderful Life.
Getting together friends.
Yes,
aren't we excited?
What a big day.
Your
what
thoughts?
A big day.
Review?
You know what?
Thumbs up? Thumbs down?
It was really good. And someone had warned me, like, it's kind of slow.
Oh.
And looking at the little progress bar across the bottom, it's like a 2 and some hour odd movie.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's over 2 hours, I think.
I had no idea.
But it didn't seem slow.
I love every
it was
second.
Honestly, a really cool thing.
The story, right?
Yeah, the story's really cool. And I think there's aspects of it for just kind of where I'm at right now of that, like, okay, what would the world be like without
Jeremy Scott?
Brinkerhoff.
Yeah.
And so, trying to examine a little bit of that story. I don't know. That's really cool. So I appreciate it. Thanks for the recommendation. And there you go. Wonderful Life. It's now part of my little thing. I would watch it again.
Yeah.
I would watch it again.
It's a Wonderful Life. It's deep.
It's very deep.
Yep. It's deep.
So this time of year.
Yeah.
Talking about resolutions last weekend.
Right.
And there's that newness, newness thing of a new year. For me, it always evokes like, okay, where do I want to go? What do I want to do this year?
Yeah, you guys are travelers.
I like traveling. I like seeing new things. Obviously, in the current environment that we're in, travel becomes a little different.
It does.
But it helps me kind of dream a little bit. Like, okay, so when things open up, where do I want to go?
Oh, I like that you're doing that. See, for me, it has squashed, repressed all of my dreaming.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to try to just prime that pump once again.
Okay, let's do that.
So where, Raylene, would you go if you had just like, I mean, money's not an object, time's no issue.
Man.
How long would you spend there?
Oh.
And where would you go?
Wow. Okay, see, I have categories. Always have categories.
Okay.
Just like with movies and everything else. I have categories. So am I traveling with my children? I go somewhere totally different.
True.
If it's just me and my honey, totally different.
Okay. So let's start with kids.
If it's
where would
stateside,
you go with kids?
Okay, stateside with kids, we have not been to one national park.
Oh.
And I feel like it's kind of an injustice to my children.
What grades are your kids in?
6th and 5th.
Ah, okay, because you missed it.
What?
So in 4th grade,
Yeah.
they actually get a national parks pass, and you can go to any national park for free.
Did people see the things you learn when you get together with us? Did
That's
you
right.
know that? I did not know that.
So yeah, it's really cool. So Daniel's in 4th grade now, and so we're trying to be a little more intentional. So we've already hit a couple of national parks with him, but it's really nice because the whole car
Everybody.
in free.
Did you love it? Did he love it? Was it worth it?
No, it's been absolutely worth it.
I
There's
kind
lots of
feel
complaining on
like,
the front end.
Well, that's
but
the
then
thing.
you
I'm
do
like, you get there and they're like, this is
this is
it.
cool.
I can see trees in my backyard, Mom. Did you go to national parks as a kid?
a lot.
You did.
My parents were very, very much into travel. My dad had a private pilot's license, and so we flew a lot of
You
places.
Richie riches.
Oh, yes. No.
Oh,
there were
come
sacrifices made in other places so that we could do that.
Sure, there were. Right.
But so no, I think that was something that was very important to them. We hit like 40 out of the 50 states.
Oh my
and
gosh.
a lot of the national parks. But,
That's awesome. No,
so which
I
national park?
I don't know. I really don't know. Is Redwood, is that forest, is that a national park?
There is.
Okay, so I have been to that. My kids haven't, but that's the only one I've ever been to.
Okay. Which is phenomenal.
Or Glacier. I guess I've been to Glacier.
Okay.
Isn't that up like Montana?
Mm-hmm.
I've been there.
That's another beautiful spot.
Yeah, but it was really to have lunch and meet a friend.
Right.
To do all the adventure-y, outdoorsy stuff.
Okay.
We were not an outdoorsy family.
Okay.
So I want to be, because Prescott invites that.
Yeah, it does.
Right?
It really does.
It almost makes me feel like I'm not a real Prescottonian or this area. If I haven't hiked yet or something.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess we should start with the Grand Canyon, since, we're so close.
You should. So the
So
kids
I
have
think
not
we would
been
do
to
that.
the Grand Canyon?
They've not been to the Grand Canyon.
Has Andy been to the Grand Canyon?
No, he's
Have
not.
you been to the Grand?
No, I've never seen it.
Brutal.
I know.
On my end,
Yeah.
I lived here for like 8.5 years, 9 years before I went to the Grand Canyon.
Oh, okay. I've got a couple of years yet.
Yeah, so you're good. But I kind of figured like it's a giant hole in the ground.
Well, that's
What's the big whoop?
See, with my son, I feel like large cliffs and my son, not a good combination.
And there's no guardrail.
And he has no spatial awareness. So we've kind of been waiting
Okay.
till he
That's a
can
good thing.
really, be let loose.
Nice.
Might be another couple of years.
So I stood corrected. Like when you go to the Grand Canyon and you are on the edge of the Grand
Of the
Canyon,
world as we know it.
Unbelievable. Like it's one of those moments where you realize how small you are.
Oh, okay.
So
I don't need
just
that in
the
my life right now.
Just the enormity of it and the beauty of it. Like you begin to hike down, and it is like around every turn it just looks different. So it's not, I'd say with some other places there's a sameness. You're kind of like, okay, more trees, oh there's more ferns, oh whatever.
Right.
But then there's just the way that the landscape changes as you go deeper into the canyon that is really truly otherworldly. So it's worth it.
All right. Okay.
So there's you and the kids.
So right, we would do the whole camping thing, do the trekking.
don't do that.
I would love to do that for the Grand Canyon. Okay, but if it's just me and Andy, then there's got to be beach involved. There's got to be a pool, an all-inclusive type of a deal.
Okay.
We did Jamaica pre-kids, and I really, really loved that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
man.
Hey, man. But I got to say England again. That's where he's from.
Yeah. Any particular part of England?
Yes, we never really got to really explore like Cornwall. So he has, because he grew up there. So he had vacations as a kid. But I never got to go to Cornwall. And I love the whole pirates and Cornwall and Plymouth, perhaps.
Okay.
And see where we, said, see ya to the Brits. I would like to do that.
Okay.
And the kids, if they're older, we might let them come.
Okay.
But I'd really enjoy it if it was just me and him.
You what did
I'd
what?
really enjoy it if it was just he and I.
Gotcha.
Yeah. With kids, you never know. It could go either way. They could love it, or they could just be totally bored and make your life miserable.
Yes.
All right. What about you guys?
So with the whole family, I would like them to see something
Don't say educational. Are you going to say educational?
No,
Oh.
not educational. So
No.
my parents did a lot of that when we were growing up.
Yeah.
A lot of like battlefields, and my parents, like they really absorb information. So my mom's a teacher, my dad was a teacher.
My gosh.
So
Smart
like all
people.
the plaques.
Love it.
Reading
Good for
all the
them.
plaques.
What would that be like?
And you're like, I kind of wish there was a battle on the field like right now. I'd like to see some sort of,
live action. Right.
But so no, I would say I'm probably too far on the other side now. Where I'm like, kids don't read the plaque. Just like, you don't need that. It's just some old person did something there. Okay, just let's go.
Right.
So
history,
like, no,
mystery.
Dad, this is interesting. No, it's not. Let's just please
Move
go.
on.
So I've done my children a disservice in that. But I would say somewhere like we've done tropical.
Yes. Lived it.
Lived
Been
tropical.
there. Got the T-shirt. Got the disease.
I would say, yeah, exactly.
Right.
Somewhere more of that like Washington-y,
Pacific
woodsy,
Northwest.
Pacific Northwest. Yes.
Washington's phenomenal.
So
I got to
spend some time there.
Love it.
With the kids. I think that'd be really cool. Like a little fishing town or
Oh,
something
you guys
like that
would
would be
love
kind of
that.
cool.
Yeah, you're outdoorsy. You'd love it.
So I think that would be like if we did the whole family, and then
And you got to take a ferry ride. That's a must in Washington.
Around
ferry
the Sound.
Ride. Yeah, it's so great.
Okay, so a ferry ride on the Sound, seeing orcas, that'd be really cool.
Yes.
And then if it was just Marissa and myself, gosh, I don't know. We really had an amazing time when we did have a soup. I think we talked about that a little bit before. Honestly, I think it would be really cool. Well, it's a family thing too. But if we were able to go back to Vanuatu, just to visit and sort of process some of the time there and just be there, that would be really
Not
special.
on mission.
No.
Just be with the people. And
I think that would be really special for everybody. And I think that would do us all a lot of good.
Yes.
But so I think that those are kind of some places. But I've always wanted to ski the Alps. I think that'd be super cool.
Yes.
But I've never been to Canada.
Okay.
And I guess there's some pretty things in Canada.
Yes, we got to live there
Toronto.
for about a year and a half.
Okay.
And it's, Toronto's phenomenal.
Oh, that's cool.
Loved that. But place on my list, one that I can actually attain, is Nashville. That is on my list. I want a boot scoot boogie.
Have fun.
In Blake Shelton's, what is it, Red's bar.
Don't know.
I want to do it.
Okay.
Nashville. Why do you say have fun? Is that like the least?
Oh, that's
bottom of your list? You love music.
Not that music. Not that music.
I'm so sorry that he offended all of you country fans.
I know. It's a bad thing. No. So I did go there with my wife.
Yes.
Early on, she was pregnant with Ethan, and it was with it was like a bank function, but black tie affair one night, but I guess they've actually done a lot of they've infuse more money into that downtown area. Yeah. So it's supposed to be really nice now. But when we went, it was like, okay, there's like it was
Slim
loud,
Shady.
a lot of drinking on the
Yes,
streets,
come
a lot
on.
of like your
boots.
There was a
Come
lot of
on.
stuff
Oh,
that just wasn't me. I'm more of like the smoky jazz club,
You're
like
Louisiana. You want to go to New Orleans? See a little Harry Connick Jr. or okay.
But
all right.
Anyway, so Nashville, you have fun.
I'm gonna.
Friend.
I'm
You
gonna.
go and you boot scoot and boogie your way.
I will.
Into the new year.
I'm gonna do it.
Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. Why don't you put your comments down below, and we'd love to know where you would go, where you're dreaming of, and is it, especially in the middle of winter, is it something where you're looking for something warm, or are you really digging the cold and you just want to take advantage of the snow in other places? So put your comments below, and now our interview with Grant.
So for our getting together, people, we're already on it. We're already with it. We're rolling with Grant, and you're gonna have to say your last name for us because we are botching people's last names.
Oh yeah, it's Smith.
We wish it was Smith.
Quezada.
Okay, see, we said it.
Quezada. Okay.
Quezada.
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Not a problem. Easy peasy.
Easy.
Yeah. So we're here. Founding Fathers Collective, Soldier. We want to know all the things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
You're a press kid, aren't you?
I wish. My folks moved here when I was about 4, but even back then, I think I had the wisdom and discernment to let them know, like, you guys need to get out of California
At 4.
and move to Prescott.
Mom, Dad,
Nice.
we need to move to Prescott.
They heeded my advice and wisdom, and here we are.
Very good.
What part
Very
of
good
Cali
film.
were you guys in?
Corona.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So
All
my
right.
dad still lives out there now. They got divorced maybe a couple years after they moved. My dad's still out there, and my mom's here in town. And so both remarried. Both my step parents are awesome. Been part of the family for
That's a gift.
20 plus years. Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's
good.
It really is.
And so what was growing up like in Prescott for you? Because Prescott's changed a lot in that period of time. But what was it like for you?
I guess you don't know ever when you're experiencing it, just like anything in life. It's always hindsight, and but in hindsight, looking back, it's just a lot more free range kid.
Yeah.
You just meander on around. I think that was a lot of the 80s in general, and as a parent now, I want to give that gift to my kids of being able to go out and explore. But we just live in such a busy, the world is busy, and especially with technology and everything else. So I grew up living out Iron Springs Road in Wildwood, and it's a solid 2 miles from where my house was to Granite Mountain. And so when I moved from Christian Academy to grow up and go to Granite Mountain, my mom would just let me ride my bicycle down Iron Springs Road 2 miles, like whenever I wanted to. It's like, hey, I'm gonna hop on my bike and go to school, or hop on my bike and go into town, and it's like, dude, that's a 40-mile-an-hour road, and there's no, you're talking
shoulder.
maybe a foot of actual road. That's no shoulder, but a foot of road. And me and my brother at like 10 and 7 would just cruise down the road,
What
just
a
like
blast.
no big deal. So
I know.
That's awesome.
It's so awesome.
So now,
I think one of the
quite
things that reckless as a parent though these days.
Oh, good. Yes.
It's good to know.
Neither are we.
I'm waiting for it, but
I want to be. Yes, get on your bike. Go.
yes.
Well, I think this is one of the challenges so I grew up in Central California, and everything's flat and a grid. And so I always rode my bike everywhere.
Yeah.
And I also had a lot of kids in our neighborhood. But one of the things that we found here, because of the sort of retirement community, like it's kind of hard I was just at kids' houses. We'd have a pickup game of baseball in the cul-de-sac,
Totally.
where it didn't have as much, or my kids don't really have that, But did you have any of that kind of in Wildwood? There was
maybe
kids?
I think there was maybe 5 other families in the area. So it was kind of convenient that we all grew up, and it was like the Haydens and a couple other families that were in there. So we all kind of hung out as kids, and I remember always asking my mom too, like, hey, I want to go hang out with Brian or another friend. And so she's always driving us out Williamson Valley, or just
What
like
a good
parents do.
mama.
I know. And now I'm a parent doing that. And it's like, man, this is a pain in the rear.
Total
Crazy.
pain.
And I remember just expecting my mom to do this all the time.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
It's just what moms do.
And how old are your kids, Grant?
I have a 10-year-old son, a 7-year-old son, and a 5-year-old daughter.
Oh,
Okay.
So
baby girl.
There's a lot of driving.
oh, she's a handful.
Oh.
They all are. They're all just honorary
Great.
cusses.
Oh, man.
And in the wise words of whatever that Fox movie is with George Clooney's voice.
Oh, yes. The Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Fantastic
There you
Mr. Fox,
go.
yeah.
There you go.
Oh, man.
Well done. That's awesome. So then, I have 3 kids, but my oldest is 16. He's now driving, and my daughter just got her permit.
Yay.
And I'm telling you, it like relieves so much pressure.
Yeah. Can you take your sister? Can
Oh
you?
my goodness,
Run
it
to the
is
store?
awesome. She's like, I have to go to Target, and both of us are like, oh my gosh, and we're like,
Hey, Ethan.
why don't you take it? He's like, oh, can I?
Yeah.
Yes, it is a privilege. Look at us, so it is brilliant. It is awesome. It's coming.
Wait.
So it's coming, Grant.
Can't wait.
That freedom.
Yeah. I'm going to be
And-
retirement age when my kids can drive, but hey, that's when I need it.
That's right.
good.
They'll be driving you to the old folks'
I
home.
will, to get my prescription.
Get your Insure and your Geritol.
Pedialyte.
That's right. So then,
All that
Grant,
useful stuff.
you went to high school here as well.
I did.
Okay.
So Prescott High, got in some trouble at 16, and
Cheers to
that was
that.
the end of high school.
Oh, really?
So,
Okay.
Whatever. Ninth grade education.
Okay.
All right. So then,
been good
Fared
for
pretty
some.
well, I got a top secret security clearance and
No.
whatever
What are
else.
we thinking?
Yeah.
Can I just pause to say,
I'm
give
good.
the man a gun?
No, I know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, man.
So now, with that, can we dive into a little bit of the trouble or
Sure,
not
yeah.
so much?
Yeah, so I grew up playing sports here in town, and then my I guess it was my sophomore year, kind of the end of the tail year, kind of started dabbling a little bit with some. It was like an over the counter cough medication. So didn't want to drink or do anything else really because I was an athlete. Somehow that made sense.
Compartmentalized.
Yeah. And so really it was only about a month and a half time frame, but and one day I showed up to school and I had a buddy and he had in-school suspension. So long story short, we kind of ditched school, went and found 2 other buddies. That was the first day I'd ever ditched school in my life. So went and robbed a store down in Wilhoit and spent 4 months in jail after that.
Wow.
And so that was it. And I went to Teen Challenge for.
Oh yeah, I love Teen Challenge.
Yeah. So my mom and my stepdad here in town. He's a retired Green Beret, and then he was a deputy at the time here for YCSO. And my mom's a therapist and.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
bless your heart.
I swung for the fences, as I like to say.
Buddy.
My life motto is like, go big or go home. And everything I do is like, how am I going big? So,
yeah.
Whoa.
So I went to Teen Challenge. This was 2000 to 2001. Got back, I think early 2001. And then, and that was my stint.
So that really made a difference in your life?
Yeah, huge difference. Like I grew up with, in a solid Christian family and definitely had a moralistic framework and values that I knew and understood intrinsically. And then just obviously my faith was a part of that as well. But, everybody makes mistakes.
Absolutely.
That's why we need Jesus.
Yes. And so I just never allowed that to define who I was or what I can do with my life. So I, in some capacities, I realized like it probably was God redeems all. So more of like a blessing. It turned around to be a blessing, and large part of it was obviously there's the grace aspect of it, but the other part that I think people sometimes fail to realize or take ownership of is people just fail to actually take ownership of themselves and be responsible for their own actions and actually chart a course and be proactive in choosing, who they want to be and where they want to go. And so I just never let that define who I was. It was obviously part of my life, and it allows me to bridge a lot of cool gaps and tell some stories and understand that side of the fence, But
absolutely.
Since then,
so then kind of on that in hindsight, how did that time then kind of set you up for that next turn of your life of what, going into the military, or was that kind of the next step?
Got back from Teen Challenge. My wife and I are both from here. So we dated for about a couple years. We've known each other since second grade.
Yes, I forgot
didn't start
about the
dating.
story. It's so precious.
So didn't start dating till after high school, and then I didn't really have a lot of direction. 17, 18 or whatever.
Right.
Did any of us?
No.
I know
but women
Jeremy
are always
didn't.
like further along in their maturation process by about
a little bit.
By about 5 years, and I think my wife and I, she's a solid 10 years ahead of me then or something. So, but she went down to ASU. I moved to Missouri. We kind of broke up.
Missouri, okay.
Yeah, so Springfield, Missouri. Lived out there for 3 years. Got into cutting women's hair. So went to school. Was a hairdresser for a couple of years.
So then, kind of back up real quick.
Yeah.
So why Missouri? Was there someone out there? Was it just kind of what was the draw?
I had a buddy of mine who I'd met in Teen Challenge. Him and his parents moved out there from Southern California. Oh wow! And so I just needed to get out of Dodge. And the gentleman who ran the Teen Challenge program, he was a pretty young guy. So I was 17, 18. He's a decade older than me. So I met him when I was 17. He was like 27, 28. So him and his wife and his kids had moved back there as well, roughly the same time. And so him and his wife were finishing their master's or PhD programs at Evangel University. So very driven individuals. So he kind of told me, hey, just nothing for you in Prescott. You might as well just move to Missouri. So I did.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
And then now why hair?
Total joke. So honestly, I moved out to Missouri day one. My buddy Mike, who I had met in Teen Challenge, I pull up in my car and he's pulling out a letter from the mailbox. and he's got opens it up, and I'm stepping out of my car, and he's got $500 cash in there, and this is like 2001, I think, or 2003. Sorry, $500 cash, and I'm like, "Where'd you get that?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, well, my parents have a friend, and this guy sends me and my brothers $500 every year since we were kids." And I was like, "And he's not a family member; he's just a friend." And
just a guy.
And he's like, "Yeah." It's like, "Well, what does he do?" "Oh, he's a hairdresser in Baltimore." And I was thinking about it. I was like,
dude,
I can cut hair.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
I love
I got to
it's
work
amazing.
inside. You're around pretty girls, and
Yeah. Right.
So I was like, okay, I'll do that. So I went to
No
hair school,
way.
and after 3 years of that, I'm like, this is insane. I don't want to be around pretty girls anymore.
Enough is enough.
Yeah, enough
Because
is
they
enough.
talk.
Yeah.
They're not just pretty. They actually talk, and they're
Like, I have
driving
to
me
engage
crazy.
and listen and do all this
To
color
engage
stuff. And
and
Oh
listen.
my goodness.
You
So-
honed your skills though for later
I think
in
so.
life.
We'll see if my wife agrees.
I think she would.
So
And she's excluded from that too much
exactly.
of pretty
Oh,
girls,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Spouses never count.
Yeah,
you can get
no.
along great with other people regardless of gender, and then as soon as you have your spouse in the room, it's like
It's totally
somehow
different.
you're some of the most ignorant people to each other for sure.
Oh man. So then you're cutting hair, and you decided what precipitates that move back
Yeah.
to Arizona?
That's when I joined the military. So I
Oh,
couldn't,
that's military.
I could
Okay.
not go in because of my felony at the time.
Okay.
And so I needed pretty much a stint of, I wouldn't say sobriety, but a stint of
Kind of like
I'm a
clean,
good person,
Sure.
Okay.
I guess.
Had
I
to
have a clean
establish
record
yourself.
established. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had about 7 years from the time I was 16 to 23. And so I joined the military in 2006 in the Army. And then the two-year enlistment, I couldn't get a contract into special operations, which is what I wanted to go do.
What branch? I
Army.
missed that. Army. Okay.
Yeah. So I was able to. The Army had opened up a small window in 2006 or 7, or from 2006 to 2007. So I think it was maybe 13, 14 months, but they had allowed individuals with some level of records to enlist to go in. And so the Army had done it. I believe the Marine Corps had done it a year prior, and the Navy had done. So each branch had opened up these really small windows for a certain amount of time to kind of allow individuals to go in because the surges were happening in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Okay.
And so I got in with a 2-year contract into the Army, and I wanted to get into special operations, and I could only get into just the Army. And so I had to pull my contract for special operations once I got at the tail end of basic training. And
Okay.
so from the tail end of basic training, got a contract for Ranger Regiment. So went and spent 8 years of the rest of my time on active duty in 2nd Ranger Battalion up at Fort Lewis. And so that was several other, I guess, re-enlistments after that. I just kept re-enlisting to have a good time. And Yep. And then my wife and I ended up getting married right at the end of basic training. So kind of we started talking kind of at the tail end of, I guess, my time in Missouri, and then went to the Army, and then I came back for Christmas.
The coming back.
Yeah,
That's
came back
right.
on.
I think it's a Hallmark movie.
I think
dude,
it
yeah,
is.
dude.
Was there a
I
snowball
know that
fight?
at least
in his military
Definitely
outfit.
Hallmark. I hit
Oh my
that,
gosh.
and then Zohan. I predated that homie before Sandler ever. I was the hairdresser that went and became a special operations guy.
Right.
That's awesome.
Wow.
There you go.
Undercover as a hairdresser.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I think Sweeney Todd. That could.
I
that
think,
could.
yeah, that's where I go too,
that
to
too.
Sweeney Todd.
There you go. All right. So
Oh.
you and your wife now are married, and you're still in the military. Or
Yeah,
are
so
you-
we
Wow, takes
we
a
spent 8
special woman.
years. Yes, she's a trooper.
She's amazing.
Spent 8 years in the Army, and we were stationed up at Fort Lewis the whole time.
Okay.
And then I think we didn't have our oldest son until about 5 years in, and so at the tail end, kind of like year 7 or whatever, we were kind of doing the math, and we realized we'd probably only spent about 3 months, if lucky, every year together. So I would deploy once or twice a year, and then when I was home, it was just constantly at different schools and training, and
Yeah.
so it wears on you.
Yeah.
There's a lot of my peers.
Stress and strain.
Oh yeah, a lot of peers. A lot of people just getting divorced, but it's kind of part for it. Very high operational tempo, and then you're just. It's very fun, but it's very taxing. So
I don't know how you come back from that, and then just
engage
live
properly.
Yeah,
I created an alter ego.
You would have to.
My name's Ned.
Ned.
I feel like you have to compartmentalize yourself, but I understand that men do that very well. But I feel like it's a gift. It is to be able to compartmentalize things.
Separate.
Yeah.
I think. On that note, because I'm sure that there might be a military person or two that watches or just knows somebody in the military. Pretty sure this is going
to be the most manliest episode we've done, Jeremy. With, Soldier Boy.
I think a huge part of my ability to assimilate back into culture or society at a normal level, pretty much, was I knew who I was. I already had a sense of identity and self-worth. And then as soon as I went into the Army, I was very intentional with never allowing that to define who I was. And so even though I knew I wanted all these experiences and I wanted to do the job and everything else that came with that and go to war, and I never allowed that to dictate or define like this is my identity, this is my self-worth. Right.
It's not who you
that's
were.
That's a part of my life. It's kind of, and it was a great experience, but sadly a lot of people who, if they don't have some semblance of or accountants of self-being or self-worth or purpose or intention, they will go in there, and the military is very good at providing that for you.
Sure.
And it's an amazing structure. They have an amazing process to like build you into a soldier, sailor, airman, Marine, whatever.
Yeah.
And then especially at those special operations levels. And so it's a whole nother level of like brotherhood and camaraderie. And people, if they're not careful, it just becomes who they are. And so their whole identity, whether it's 2 years in or 30 years in, that is who they are. That's who they define themselves to be. And then they leave, and the reality is you're just a cog in the wheel.
Who am I now?
And there are 2,000, there's 2 million people throughout our entire military. And as soon as you leave, there's somebody right behind you that takes your position.
Sure.
And so a lot of people have a hard time understanding that or grappling with it. And I think that it also is another reason why you might have a higher suicide rate in the veteran population. You have a lack of purpose. Direction, identity.
Right. Who am I now?
Yeah. And especially you have 20 years of war or war fighting, and there's a lot of responsibility that comes with that. There's a lot of honor and shame and everything else in between when you have those experiences and you're with the same group of men and women constantly. And so when you step back into normal life and you're like, man, nobody even remotely knows what the heck I'm dealing with.
Right.
Yes.
So, right.
But yeah, that's a huge part of it.
So then if I could ask for you and for your sense of identity, could you boil that down to maybe like 3 bullet points of something like you said throughout that experience? Okay, this is who I am. What were those roots that you keep coming back to keep yourself grounded?
Yeah,
it's good, but hard on the spot.
Yeah, I would say probably number 1 is my faith.
Okay.
So understanding that there's a lot more to me than just, I'm not the sum of just 1 or 2 experiences, whether that is a year or 2 or 5 or 10 or 20, but my whole life is yet to be determined. And so outside of relying on that aspect of it, a huge part of it is I'm continually defining who I am as like all of us, So the more you progress through life and the older you get, ideally the better you should know yourself and take advantage of the opportunities you have to actually codify or renew or define or redefine who you are. And so so that was always very exciting to just know like, hey, this is everything I'm experiencing here in the military is just it's a tool to add into my toolbox of how I deal with stress or how I manage opportunities or everything else that is kind of the ebbs and flows of what we experience.
Yeah.
So that was a huge part of it. And I don't even think there's anything past that. For me, it was like, that's it.
Because
it's like, if you know that, then really everything else is like a moot point. So
that's interesting. So a few episodes ago, as we were starting this thing, we talked about like things I was involved in high school and those aspects that you like to make fun of like being choir and band geek and whatever.
Yeah,
you know?
Theater.
Yes.
I played sports.
There you go. And I think it's one of those aspects of life where you can very easily look to the past and say, oh man, but in the past. And I was kind of not making fun of, but trying to bring some levity to this. Like this dude's talking about in high school. Oh man, in high school, the football, blah, blah, blah. Right. And he has this like remorse that he's not still there. You're 55, you know, high school was a while ago. That was a good play, I'm sure. But again, high school football. And then I realized in these moments, I'm like, I do that a lot with my kids and my choir experience. Well, when I was in choir, kids, you know, still looking at the past and trying to be defined by that. I'm like, well, if I'd only, oh, but I can't. And so that thing of moving forward, okay, yeah, I'm not going to let that completely dominate my life. But then using it as a building block instead of this like slide back into, well, if I had or if I should, or, you know, all those things that can really drag us and hold us back, instead of using it to continually change and say, okay, well, how am I going to use that then to either serve others or to put myself in a spot where I'm not constantly thinking about what was, but what could be. So I don't know, that's really cool, Grant.
Yes.
So now you decide like something is going to change, or there's a life change coming. So what kind of brings you back into Prescott?
You decide Prescott again?
Yep. Yeah. So I think the last big determining factor was I had just gotten back from. So I was in 2nd Battalion for 9 deployments. I went on 6. I missed a couple just for different schools and stuff. And right before I got out, I went to selection for a special mission unit in the Army. That would have been the pinnacle of what you can do, pretty much. And
you can't tell us, or you'd have to kill us. Is that?
I wouldn't kill you.
Thank you.
You can Google it.
I'm actually much more calm now.
Just, you know, I got a trusty pipe wrench back here just for the knees.
Yeah, we'll leave with that next time. Arizona. Are you here to kill me? Okay. The interview is going to go much better. Thank you.
So I had. It's pretty common for, you know, like a lot of guys from Ranger Regiment to spend 6 to 10 years and then they move over to kind of different special mission units. And so it's kind of just a natural progression of kind of your military experience. So I went to selection, I washed out the very last day, but it's a lot of time just kind of walking in the woods and thinking and processing what my entire life had been for the last 8 years. And that was kind of like, I guess, the reality check I needed to where it was, and even if I make this, I'm going to be doing the exact same thing, but at the next level up. And, you know, I'm married at that time. My son was 2.5, and at the age of 2.5, I'd already been on my last 3 deployments. And so it's like, do I really want to be doing this? You know, like there's something else I can do. And sorry, my phone's like blown up. I'm like, what's going on? But it was also a healthy maturity and responsibility of just understanding, like, I no longer need to chase that glory for myself, you know. And there's always going to be the what if, like I could have done that, I could have been there. Like I have a lot of my really good friends that are in that unit, and
that would be hard.
And it's always great to kind of, you know, as men and even as ladies, but as like a type A personality, it's like I want to be part of the best, and so I have the ability to be there, and so you want to be, you know, it's like I want to be on the varsity team, you know, and you have the capability to be there. Yeah. So it was just a healthy gut check of like, am I capable of doing it? Yes, but is it worth it? Like, what's it going to cost me in the end? And that was a difficult.
You have to grieve that decision, like letting that go.
Yep. So I think that time just walking around helped solidify that. But it was great. I mean, it was a cool experience. There's nothing I don't regret, you know. And especially now that I have,
it's important,
a wife and 3 kids and everything else here in town. It's like,
it's
fine.
Let's talk about that. What you
Yeah,
have
so-
here in town.
What do you have here in
you
town?
come back
man.
and you take over.
Yeah, subtly or something. I just proactively nose to plow, I guess.
Yeah, man.
But started John Hancock Barbershop, and then
What year did that start?
it was late December 2014.
Okay.
So 7 years ago. And then one chair shop, and then within a month I had a buddy of mine who joined, Damien, who's still working there. He's awesome.
Wow.
And then within the first 14 months had 2 locations and 8 chairs, and just kept growing it. And so pretty much doubled revenue for 4.5 years. And then I hired a buddy of mine on, Jesse Burke, kind of to consult, and he was another Air Force chaplain and another homegrown kid here in town, him and his wife. And so kind of hired him to take a look at the business kind of objectively. And then we started just working together and realized, like, hey, there's a lot of good strengths and weaknesses that we both complement each other on. So
That's good.
So we partnered, and then we started Founding Fathers Collective, which is, I guess it's on 218 North Granite Street. So
Awesome.
block and a half northwest of the square.
Okay.
And
Great
then,
location.
we have a coffee shop in there and a functional fitness gym and 65 wall self-serve tap wall. So the largest in the state. And I think we're the 5th or 6th in the country.
Wow.
And then the barbershop, we just won top 10 salons in the country in Salon Today, which
Hey, that's
Congratulations.
cool.
is international magazine. So that was cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then we have a speakeasy and a bunch of outside patio space, and
Okay.
Yes.
and a friend of ours who owns a jiu-jitsu academy. So it's a
Oh, wow.
good, fun, active place that for us was bringing people together and really providing a cultural hub to where people can come in and engage, and we have all different walks of life and
Yeah.
age ranges and demographics. So how do you kind of bring people together and double down on the positive side of aspects of those type of amenities? You know,
Okay.
like, and I mean more so kind of like on the alcohol side, because that always can go one of two ways, and mostly it goes bad. But it does bring people together, and the goal for us was, in our core values, are community, connection, and care. So how do you use business as a platform and a medium to actually serve the community and bring people together and create like a cultural hub, and then use it also to partner with a lot of nonprofits and charity work. And so
I love that.
this last year, we've had a lot of opportunity to work with a myriad of different charity groups and raise money and just serve the community in that capacity. So
That's
it's
really
good.
cool.
Yeah.
How was it for you coming back to your hometown after kind of how you left as now a business owner?
Yeah, it was interesting. I didn't know what to really expect, because I left at 18 kind of, and you're a kid then, so you kind of just leave, and
Right.
you just, all the experiences I had was growing up here riding around on my bike or hanging out with buddies and doing fun stuff that probably is illegal now because everybody's so sensitive, I guess.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or maybe because it was illegal in the first place. I don't know.
Right. There you go. We're just a little wiser now.
But yeah,
Right.
either way, just, it was just definitely a little bit more. I remember playing Frisbee golf on the square. That would never happen these days, or
Oh, that's great.
there's a really fun game where some of the locals might know, but it was called, Fugitive. And so we'd start at Prescott High School, and
Fugitive is fun.
the goal was to have a team of people that would run all the way to the square. And so you'd have 10 or 20 kids trying to get from Prescott High down to the square in the span of like an hour. And then you have like 20 or 30 kids in cars chasing you down. And so
Spotlights and
Spotlights.
spotlights.
Yeah,
It's like
and
the
you're like-
Harrison Ford Fugitive.
so you're like running through
Yeah.
people's yards and all that stuff. So
Oh, come
I don't know if
on.
that stuff would fly these days, but
Maybe if you got a license first and then
yeah. So it was like, I know, it's safety licenses, wearing your helmet, running around, all this stupid stuff.
Please wear your helmet.
So like I would say it's even more dangerous here because you never know who's packing. But like
Well,
in
that's the
California
thing.
growing up, we did it and like you might get yelled at, but here you
Get
gotta get
off
shot.
my lawn. Yeah,
Yeah.
here you may get shot. That's true.
Yeah.
So kudos to you. I mean,
Yeah. So coming back,
Fun. Did they take you seriously? I
don't
mean,
know, I just knew the barbershop would be the medium to get into business.
okay.
And
Yeah.
so
smart.
there was
man.
only 10 barbershops at the time, 10 or 11. There was 160 salons. And so, I was a hairdresser and also a barber. And that was the medium I'd use to kind of get into more and more business.
Yeah.
And so you're bridging the gap between ages and demographics. You're bringing people together. And in a healthy way, that was cultivating relationships.
Yes.
Especially with men within the community.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So you're bridging those gaps. You're providing a shared experience for fathers to bring their sons to, or other men to just come in and engage and talk in some healthy capacity.
Nice.
Which there's plenty of those type of places within any society nowadays where it's very have the niceties or amenities that women tend to go to, like salons or day spas or massage places and a myriad of other stuff like that. But there's not too many healthy outlets that men can kind of go to. So the barbershop was like the first focus. And then from there, I always wanted to do other businesses to branch into. So it was perfect when Jesse and I kind of partnered. We kind of were able to play off our strengths and make the rest of it all happen.
Smart.
It was a need, and you filled a good gap, because my first experience here in Prescott was going to a barber.
Yeah.
And I came out to go to Embry-Riddle, and so everything's high and tight, right? So this guy's like, okay, if you want a real barber shop, you got to go to this place downtown. And they're doing the straight razor thing, and he just nicks my ear. I mean, like, straight up. And these guys are really old. It had the cool atmosphere because there's like all these old codgers and they're swapping stories.
Yeah, I love that.
Whatever. But the guy's like adjusting his eyes the whole time.
Shaking probably while he's trying to shave you. And you're like,
so I thought, it was probably an anomaly. I'll go back the next time. Same dumb thing happens. I'm like, all right, I'm done. If I have to go to like Fantastic Sam's, I'm just not going back to those old guys. But so thank you for bringing something professional and still very fun. So that's cool. And do you guys do straight razor shaves?
We do. So we do straight razor face shaves and
nice
on the neck. And some
when my 16-year-old gets a whisker.
Oh yeah,
I'm coming to you guys.
All right.
I think it'd be a fun father-son thing. I've always had this like, oh man, it'd be really cool to go get a shave with my kid. But I guess he's got to have the stubble first. We're getting there. I was a late bloomer. He's probably going to be a late bloomer
probably.
too. But
he's
now,
gonna love you for saying that. Now look at all this.
I prayed that in, but that's another story for another day.
To you.
So then, Grant, this thing about community, like this is one of our desires, of community, and we love Prescott. And just as we were kind of talking before the interview started, what are some of those things for you that define this community, and how can people really assimilate themselves into the culture that people have come to know and love as Prescott? What can we do to preserve that?
Yeah.
So I think that outside of getting into, it is at a basic level, it's philosophical, but to simplify it, I think the call is a call to citizenship. So it's, and if you look at what that means, it's really like, it's service, like you're taking a healthy level of responsibility and ownership of our community or region, and then you're stepping into the void, or where you might see a gap, and you're displaying, by serving, you're actually leading to some capacity, and a part of that too, though, is you actually do have to assimilate to the culture to some level, and I mean that in a healthy. As healthy as you can get, because sometimes assimilation, it sounds horrible, but what I guess to add to that, you have a lot of people that move here from all over, and Prescott's still a pretty small town. We're at 46,000. I know the next time we do a census will be over 50, which I think is about a year and a half.
Okay.
And then at that point, we're no longer defined as being rural. We move more into a sub-metropolitan, not even a metropolitan, but we're no longer a rural community. And so where I'm going at with that is Prescott's still a small town. It's very easy to know everybody within one or two people.
Yeah.
And be held accountable for your actions, and really, like, if you think you're a good person, it's going to shine through, because there's a lot of people that are they going to know that you are or you're not,
Right.
Gotcha.
But a lot of people move here, and they move here because they fall in love with the area. So they come here because they vacationed here, or they are visiting family or friends, or they're a tourist. Then they fall in love with the place. Then they want to move here, and they have the ability to move here, or the opportunity. But the problem, to boil it down, is they never leave their metropolitan mindset at the door. And so they move here, and they're so used to everybody else taking care of everything for them. And which is you look at Phoenix or any major city in California or any major city, most places, most of the people that move here, they're coming from those type of environments and cities, which everything is so fast paced. You're always taking, you're not giving back to the community. You're just constantly in a mindset of like surviving, like you're just going, you're doing, you're taking, you're just constantly in a consumer mindset. And so when you move here and you have the ability to slow down, there has to be a healthy understanding as an individual that you need to become part of the community. And I think a lot of people don't understand that level of how important that is. And so to simplify it, you meet people all the time where they've been here a couple of years, and when I moved here, people were so much more friendly, and they would wave, and they would talk about this, and when you actually talk to them, it's like, well, do you yourself wave?
Do you wave?
And they're like, well, no. And it's like, well
there
then
you go.
You're part of the problem.
Right.
Like, you need to assimilate to the culture that you fell in love with. And you need to be a part of it.
And help create that.
Yeah. So
and
if you're not,
move that forward.
If you're not waving, if you don't drive at a normal
25,
pace,
30.
because everything is so busy in a city. It's like, hey, I got to get to A to B, and I got to get there now. And it's like, things tend to just go a little slower. It's like, just
where you got to be.
Right.
Everything
and to be okay
takes
with
10
it.
minutes in this town. Come on.
Still.
Yeah.
I have kids on the north side of town that go to school, and I live in the center part of town, and I work downtown, and my 3 kids go to 2 different schools, and it still takes me 15, 20 minutes tops every morning.
And I love it.
And I'm the one that drops them off, and it's like,
oh man,
this is not, there's not a lot of
slow
traffic.
Down.
No.
But that's a huge part of it. Is like, how do you move here and actually adopt or adapt to the culture that you're in?
Yes.
And don't be so quick to come here and change, right? So
we've got to lead. We've got to lead by example.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That age-old adage of kind of, if you come across the fence, don't be so quick to remove the fence because it was put up there for a reason. Right? So figure out why is it there.
Pause a moment. Yes.
And don't
take
be
a deep
so
breath.
Take a deep breath.
Yep.
Put your windows down. Come on.
And I think part of, for Arizona, but definitely part of being a rural community like Prescott and in the region, it tends to be, as an individual, there's just more responsibilities put on you to be an actual independent thinking type of person. And you have people that are so used to or accustomed to just being told what to do from wherever they move from. And so when they move here and they're not used to actually taking responsibility for themselves or their own actions, and they just think, oh, somebody else has to do that, or like somebody needs to tell me what to do. And it's like, dude, you just need to figure out how to just be normal and think for yourself.
Yep.
No, I think it's
totally agree.
So it brings to mind, my sister lived in New Jersey for like 12 years, and she had these friends that had grown up there, and then just in that constant, I mean, it's just always, there's something, there's always noise, there's always stuff. And she had one of her friends who came out just to visit Arizona, just to kind of see what it was like. And she said it freaked her out so bad because there was so much open space and it was so quiet. She didn't know like what to do with the thoughts in her mind.
Yes,
and
I agree. I experienced that.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. I think as people move here, you're so unsure of that thing of, this is me, this is myself. And you're now retired, so you don't have that. And you're in a place where like there's open space.
Now what do I do?
Both mentally and physically. So then, being in a place where, okay, now how do I harness that and channel that to really make this community the thing that I fell in love with in the first place, and that actually gave me rest from the outside world.
And that comes down to I think most people, especially in the last 20 years with the onslaught of technology, nobody looks forward to actually slowing down these days. And we're so inundated with technology and thinking that we have to be living in the now, but people don't understand what it means to actually be present and think and process. And so you have a lot of people that they really don't know who they are as an individual, and so when they find a place like this or other places, and they're having to be confronted with being present and actually trying to get to know themselves, it can be very
daunting.
It is daunting.
Disconcerting or daunting or alarming, because they're posed with questions they don't have answers to, and they don't, it's off-putting, especially if you think you remove somebody from LA that's in their 60s, and then they move here. And they fall in love with, like, oh, it's quaint, everybody says hi,
right?
But then they fall in love with it from a tourist mindset, and then once they're here and it's expected for them to be like that, they don't know how to act or react, because they're like, I'm just not used to this. I don't want people to be nice to me, because I'm not a nice person,
Right.
They think they are, but it's like, no, you're used to just doing life at such a fast pace, and you don't see people for people.
Yeah.
It's more of their nuisance, or they're in the way, and you're just trying to go from point A to point B, and they're living their life completely exhausted all the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Man,
that's good.
That's good.
It is good.
If you disagree, well, that's okay, because I disagree with you.
You can find him at Founding Fathers Collective and let him know how you feel.
With a straight razor in his hand.
I'll buy you a drink
and a lead pipe.
And probably a gun somewhere on his person.
That's right. No, that's good. So one of the other aspects of just getting together, we'd like to know who, if you had the opportunity, regardless of time, space, whatever, like, who would you like to sit down with?
Who would you get together with?
Have coffee with. Who would you get together with?
That's good. You said that the other day. I think I'd C.S. Lewis.
Oh, man.
Good one.
So I was thinking,
can we join that one?
Day, but I was
no,
like,
you're not allowed to say that one. I'm sorry. That's one of our
gimme,
rules.
Right?
You're not allowed.
No, C.S. Lewis or like G.K. Chesterton or something would be pretty awesome.
That'd be fascinating.
One. Yes.
Yeah, no, he wins so far.
He does win.
Sit in his library or something.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if he'd be a talker. I don't know.
I kind
of feel like he'd be sort of.
Would.
Cerebral as a thinker.
I got to.
I get that feeling.
And you get all these books, but there's not much to you. You just don't talk.
Right, exactly.
That's why I'm able to write so many books. Like,
that's right.
Oh, that's a good one.
That is a really good one. Yeah. I got to. Our family went on a vacation to London, and it was like one of my things. I've always wanted to go to Oxford. I don't know why. And but I was like, okay, I have to get there. So I actually ended up going by myself, and there's a pub that you can sit in the booth. Yeah. And so I just like, it was packed. Like nowhere else was packed. Man, that place was packed. Cool. And so I just like, just to be, so I agree. Just to be in that space and be like, man, what is it like to have these kind of conversations? And like him and Tolkien going over, like, that's mind blowing. So I agree. That's a great recommendation.
Good one.
You win.
All right.
Our other ones, like, no, they pale in comparison. So thanks.
I just want to know, what did Luther say?
Yes.
What was that?
What did Luther say?
Oh,
Luther, we didn't ask that question. We need to have him back.
Bob Saget? No, wait, he's dead.
Technically, it counts. He just passed away. So.
That's right. He did. So, but thank you so much, everyone, for getting together with us today. Thank you, Grant, for taking some time. I know you have a packed schedule, so thank you so much for taking some time with us. And man, do that very thing. If you have something that you're like, man, this is really chafing, just take a look and start by waving. That is one way that you can connect with your community around you. Man, just smile and wave, and just begin to be that friendly person that you're hoping to see in the community. So someone's waiting for you to be that person. But thank you so much for getting together with us today. Like and share, and we will put all the tags in the description so you can find Founding Fathers.
Founding Fathers.
Founding Fathers is a great space. It's a really cool place just to go and check out and then have those experiences. So thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you on the next episode of Getting Together.
See ya.
Awesome.